At exactly 3:17 hours on March 12, 2026, in the ink-black waters 14 nautical miles northwest of the Strait of Hormuz, the false calm that had gripped the Persian Gulf for 72 hours was obliterated by the most sophisticated maritime ambush in IRGC history. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, nuclear-powered supercarrier and flagship of Carrier Strike Group 2, was executing a freedom of navigation transit through the constricted throat of the strait, a 21-mile-wide gauntlet flanked by Iranian missile batteries on the north and Omani coastline on the south. The war had entered its third week. Operation Epic Fury had shattered Iran's air defense backbone, sunk 2 of its warships, including the brand-new Iris Dina in a torpedo strike off Sri Lanka, and pummeled command infrastructure around Tehran. But Iran's new supreme leader had made one thing crystal clear. The Strait of Hormuz belongs to Iran, and tonight the IRGC Navy was going to prove it. On the Eisenhower's Combat Information Center, the Spy-6 air and missile defense radar was painting a clean picture. 1,243 contacts, all categorized, all tracked simultaneously by the Aegis Baseline 10 combat system. To a casual observer, it looked controlled, professional. But what the radar wasn't painting was the reason the next 22 minutes would come within seconds of costing the U.S. Navy its most powerful asset in the region. The trap had been months in the making, buried deep inside the chaos of war. 48 hours earlier, Iranian intelligence had leaked deliberately false information suggesting their Noor shore-to-ship missile batteries on Qushm Island had been destroyed in a U.S. strike. The information was seeded into SIGINT channels that NSA analysts were known to monitor. The objective was singular: bait the Eisenhower into the strait under the assumption that its northern flank was clear. Iran never fought this battle alone. Signals intelligence gathered over the prior 96 hours had confirmed what the Pentagon feared most. A team of Russian electronic warfare contractors, operating under diplomatic cover from Bandar Abbas, had provided Iran with the Polyana-2M GPS spoofing complex, a system capable of broadcasting false GPS coordinates across a 40-kilometer radius, neutering every American precision-guided weapon that depended on satellite navigation. Russia had not just supplied the technology. Russian technical advisors had been running rehearsals for this exact scenario inside an IRGC naval simulation facility since January. The cooperative relationship between Tehran and Moscow that had bled Ukraine for years had now arrived, uninvited, at the throat of the world's oil supply. At 3:17 hours and 14 seconds, 3 things happened simultaneously. First, aboard the IRGC general-purpose vessel Shahed Bagheri, flagged as a neutral fishery support ship and sitting 6 miles north of the main transit lane, 12 hydraulic container lids blew upward with a pneumatic hiss that scattered seabirds across a half-mile radius. Beneath those lids, 12 Noor anti-ship cruise missiles, the Iranian naval derivative of the Chinese C-802. As locked and pre-aimed using GPS waypoint data uploaded 8 hours prior. 0 radar emissions, 0 warning. Pure kinetic launch in under 3 seconds. Second, from 4 submersible drone launchers positioned on the seabed at 55 meters depth, planted weeks ago by IRGC combat divers during the pre-war tension period. 48. Shahed 136 maritime variant loitering munitions silently ejected from their tubes and activated their electric motors, ascending toward the surface at 3.2 meters per second. These were not the land attack Shahed the world had watched cross Ukrainian skies. These were waterproofed naval variants equipped with passive infrared seekers and programmed to swarm the target from multiple bearings, a saturation approach designed to overwhelm any CIWS defense envelope. Third, at the same moment, the Polyana-2M GPS spoofing attack went live from 3 land-based transmitters on the Iranian coastline, flooding the entire 40-kilometer corridor with ghost satellite signals. Every GPS-guided weapon, every precision navigation system within range suddenly believed it was displaced 2.3 miles from its actual position. The Tomahawk's surgical precision advantage had been neutralized. The SM-6's GPS mid-course update was corrupted. The world's most advanced fleet was now shooting at shadows. At 03:17 hours and 28 seconds, the E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft orbiting at 27,000 feet screamed the worst possible words across the Link 16 tactical data network. Vampire, 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 12 inbound, bearing 012, range 12 nautical miles, time of flight 94 seconds, Aegis weapons free, in the CIC of USS Arleigh Burke DDG-51. To the Aegis computer needed 0.8 seconds to calculate intercept solutions. VLS cells 14 through 26 opened simultaneously, ejecting SM-6 Block 1 missiles in ripple fire. The launches lit the night sky in a strobing cascade of white fire. The Eisenhower's phalanx CYWS mount swiveled to maximum elevation, their M61A1 Vulcan barrel spinning up to 4,500 rounds per minute. 9 of 12 Noor missiles were shredded in brilliant orange fireballs between 8 and 11 nautical miles out, but 3 missiles punched through the intercept window. One had executed a terminal pop-up maneuver, climbing to 1,800 feet before nosediving at near supersonic speed, confusing the Aegis tracking algorithm for 1.1 critical seconds. Leakers, 3 leakers inbound, bearing 012, 6 miles, CIWS engaging. 2 more Noor missiles disintegrated under phalanx fire. But the third, the pop-up variant, had already dropped below CYWS radar acquisition altitude, screaming in at 14 meters above the wave tops. The GPS spoofing was simultaneously preventing CRAM from achieving a clean fire solution. The system was referencing phantom coordinates, 12 seconds to impact. At the same time, the Shahed maritime drone swarm broke the surface. 48 electric loitering munitions erupted from the Persian Gulf in a wide fan pattern on all bearings, their IR seekers immediately locking on to the Eisenhower's 100,000-ton thermal signature. From the carrier's battle stations, the sight of 48 drones simultaneously rising from the Blackwater was something no wargame simulation had fully prepared them for. Do you believe the Eisenhower could survive what came next? Comment 1 if yes. The carrier strike group was now fighting a 3-dimensional battle simultaneously. A sea-skimming Noor missile 9 seconds from impact on the port bow, 48 swarming drones ascending on all bearings, and a GPS blackout turning precision weapons into expensive guesswork. Vampire leaker, 800 meters, CIWS, no solution, hard turn, hard turn. The Eisenhower's captain executed the decision that no skipper ever wants to make. 4 nuclear reactors driving 4 shaft steam turbines roared to flank speed. 104,000 tons of steel executed a maximum emergency turn to port, presenting the narrowest possible profile to the incoming weapon. 3 Nulka active missile decoys were fired to starboard simultaneously, each broadcasting a radar return hotter and more compelling than the carrier itself. The Noor missile's terminal seeker chose the Nulka. At 380 meters from the Eisenhower's hull, the Iranian missile detonated inside an empty stretch of ocean. The shockwave shook the carrier hard enough to knock unsecured equipment across the ship. No penetration, no flooding. But war had just crossed into a new phase. The drone swarm, however, was still climbing. The phalanx mounts were firing. Escort destroyers were adding their own cannon fire. The air above the strike group had become a geometry of steel and fire. 31 Shahed drones were destroyed in the first defensive sweep, but 17 broke through. 4 drones struck the Eisenhower superstructure. None carried warheads heavy enough to critically damage a ship this size, but 3 sailors were killed by blast and shrapnel. And the number 2 arresting gear engine was destroyed. The flight deck remained operational, barely. 4 more drones struck USS Gravely DDG-107, destroying her SPY-6 forward array and igniting a fire in her number 2 VLS magazine that damage control teams would fight for the next 90 minutes. Iran believed the strike group was blinded, crippled, and on the defensive. They were wrong. 300 meters beneath the surface, USS Indiana SSN-789, a Virginia-class nuclear attack submarine, had been running silent in the carrier group's baffles for the past 18 hours. The Shahed drone launch had done exactly what Indiana's commanding officer anticipated. It had given him the precise acoustic fingerprints of every IRGC underwater launcher on the seabed. Indiana's BQ-Q10 sonar suite had cataloged their exact position since the first launch burst. At 03:22 hours, Indiana transmitted a single burst-encrypted targeting package via extremely low-frequency relay to 5th Fleet Command. 19 seabed launcher positions confirmed. The reply came in 4 seconds. Weapons free. Execute. Indiana fired 6 Mark 48 AD cap torpedoes in a rapid sequential spread pattern. Each torpedo ran a bottom profile approach, traveling at 63 knots across the seabed before detonating directly beneath the remaining IRGC drone launcher pods. The concussive shockwaves from 6 simultaneous deep-water detonations registered on seismographs in Muscat and Dubai. The remaining 11 launcher pods and the future of Iran's seabed drone capability in the Strait ceased to exist. At the same time, a different kind of justice was being delivered on the surface. The Shahed Bagheri, the IRGC ghost vessel, was attempting to slip back into the neutral shipping lane. AIS transmitter suddenly switched back on, broadcasting its cover identity as a fishery support vessel. It had already traveled 9 nautical miles from its launch position. Its legal camouflage was back in place, but the EA-18G Growler orbiting at 35,000 feet had recorded every radio emission from the vessel since 22:30 hours the previous night. Every encrypted IRGC tactical burst, every missile guidance uplink, every communication with Fleet Command ashore. The vessel's military identity was beyond legal doubt. At 03:25 hours, an FA-18F Super Hornet launched from the Eisenhower's still operational deck, carrying 2 AGM-158 CLR-ASM long-range anti-ship missiles. The LRASM's AI seeker did not need GPS. It used electro-optical pattern matching against a preloaded library of 4,200 IRGC and Iranian naval vessels, identifying the Shahed Bagheri by hull geometry and thermal signature alone. At 03:27 hours and 52 seconds, both missiles struck amidships within 1.4 seconds of each other. The first penetrated to the machinery space. The second impacted the forward hold where the remaining Noor reload canisters were stored. The resulting secondary explosion was visible from the Keshem Island shoreline, a column of fire reaching 600 feet into the pre-dawn sky. The Strait of Hormuz fell silent, but the silence carried a weight that no mission report could fully capture. 3 sailors were dead, 11 were wounded. USS gravely trailed a thin smoke column from her battle damage. The Eisenhower's flight operations tempo had been reduced by 40%. The strike group was operational, but it had been hurt. And inside the bunkers beneath Tehran, IRGC military planners knew exactly what that meant. More dangerously, the signals intelligence analysis completed over the following 6 hours confirmed what the Pentagon had feared. The Polyana-2M GPS spoofing complex had been operated during the engagement window by Russian technical contractors, not Iranian operators. The trap's architecture, the ghost ship, the seabed drones, the GPS blackout, had been co-designed in Moscow. Delivered to Tehran, executed in the Strait of Hormuz, the choke point responsible for 20% of the world's daily oil supply. The US Navy had not just fought Iran tonight, it had fought Russia. The strait technically remained open. The Eisenhower remained the most powerful naval platform in the theater, but the geopolitical mathematics had shifted in the pre-dawn darkness. 2 peer-level adversaries were now coordinating against a single carrier strike group in a confined waterway with no ceasefire in sight. The next 48 hours would determine whether global oil markets survived the week and whether the Russian contractor teams in Bandar Abbas were still there or had already slipped away with the combat data they needed to build an even deadlier version of this trap. The Persian Gulf has always been the world's most dangerous maritime choke point. Tonight, it became something worse. It became a testing ground for the future of multi-domain warfare, and the results are classified. If you think the US can maintain control of the strait without direct escalation against Russia's proxy network, comment 1 below. If you believe this is already the opening move of a far larger confrontation, comment 2.